Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, we're still going to talk about coins, but we're going to talk about something else. And so, having a discussion is going to be um, kind of a couple ground rules, so to speak, I guess, if I should say. Number one, this is just a discussion. Okay, so I'm not a financial advisor. Anything I say or anything that Eric happens to, oops, I pointed the wrong direction. Anything that Eric happens to say is just it's based for discussion. It's not requirement of financial obligation, or we're not telling you what to do. We're not financial experts. There's nothing tied to that. So it's just general discussion. There's going to be a lot of stuff in chat. We're going to be asking a lot of questions and kind of getting everybody's feel. We look at the current climate and things. We look at some of the things that are happening and trying to understand kind of where people's minds are in this, where they think. The other part of this is that people have asked me, hey, Frosty, what happens in a situation where we have an SHTF? I'm a coin collector. What happens to our coin collections? Should I stop collecting coins and start stacking? We're going to talk a little bit about that, talk about some of the uh, uh, thought processes behind why I'm doing what I'm doing. We'll talk a little about Eric's point of view, and then we'll get some stuff. Hey, Paula's here. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we'll get Paula's point of view on this as well. But she's like, "What point of view? What are we talking about?" Um,
I don't think any of us are like mega preppers, anyways, are we?
no, I don't think
Really?
so. But again, it's just there's been a lot of questions about this regarding, you know, from a numismatic standpoint, um, what do you do in an SHTF? Like, do I stop collecting coins and start stacking? Um, and so I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about the history. I want to talk about some of the situations that would cause you to put yourself in a bad position. But again, none of this is recommendation. This is just discussion. My moderators, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Kind of monitor the chat. If you see stuff, see questions, things of that nature, then just let me know. And if you see something, I happen to miss it, make sure you're tagging me and then say, hey, go see so and so's comment. So before we get into that, let's do what we always do and do our pleasantries. We have Jack Gallman, Great Scott. We have Ken O'Mine. Good morning. How are you? Kevin Rose is in the house. Eric Math is here. Obviously, we have Eric and Paula, Stan Horn, Strider, Jackalope Herdmaster. What's going on? Nick Molnar, my brother, my numismatic brother from the Canadian mother. How you doing, bud? Good to see you here. David Carlisle, I hope you all are doing well. Thank you all for coming in. Paula and Eric, how are you two?
I'm fine and dandy.
And I'm doing wonderful. Just got my shopping done for the day.
You started early.
I do everything early. Like I say, by 9:30 at night, it's bedtime for me, and I don't do a whole lot as far as like work stuff goes after 3 in the afternoon. That's my, everybody gets up and they're like, oh, I got to get going. I got to do this. I got to do that. I get up and I'm like on speed.
Yep,
I'm
feet
running
to
around the
floor.
house, getting the house clean, doing what I'm going to do around the house.
That's how I am in the morning. I'm a very much a morning person. Um,
And yeah, night person, I am not.
I try to get all my stuff done by 10 or 11 o'clock so I can enjoy the remainder of the day. What about you, Paula? How are you feeling?
I'm okay.
You sound
I would
I
good.
say everything's going great.
Yeah, just trying to get my energy back.
That'll take a while.
Yeah, I'm okay though.
Yeah,
Your
you
body's
sound
not
really
used to
good.
all the chemicals being right.
I am okie dokie.
Oh, if we're talking about balance, then she's got a lot more work to do.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go take my grandson to see Beetlejuice today.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
I've heard good
yeah.
stuff about the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard good stuff about it. Has anybody in chat seen it? What are your guys' thoughts? So
I have friends who saw it and they say that it's good, but it's not what you'll expect. And so for that reason, it's not good. You know, people expect a sequel to be a sequel. And I guess it's not a sequel, really. It's a standalone.
Yeah. Well, good
That's what
because
I've heard.
prequels
And
are
kind of boring
never,
usually.
yeah, they're never as good as the original. So if they did this with a brand new storyline and everything, then good. Maybe it'll be better.
I mean, that's what I heard. I heard the disappointment of people wanting to link it to the last movie.
Oh,
And I understand it. I mean, it's
I
like
don't.
watching Star Wars and there's no, what was the one they made some Star Wars spin-off thing and it was basically, it was kind of lame because it was just intergalactic combat with the mention of certain people and there was no, they weren't in it. Characters you
well,
love and adore weren't there. They were
well,
trying to
there's a
make new
reason
characters.
one of the characters wasn't that people loved and adored wasn't in this one.
Well, right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, um,
Yeah. So the the
I mean,
the
this is what,
father,
30 years since
yeah,
the original?
Lydia's father. He did some bad stuff.
And I'm
He did
sure that
some
the appointment
really
lady
bad stuff.
can't be alive by now, right?
Who?
The lady that played the appointment when the one woman went down, she had the appointment manager and she was smoking and she had
Oh
the
yeah,
split
no,
throat.
I'm sure she's not
Yeah,
alive
she can't be
anymore.
alive because she'll
Mm-mm.
be 115 years old.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, if you really go back and you watch that movie, how would you sequel that anyway? It
Right. I
wasn't an
mean,
open ending. There wasn't a storyline. I mean, there was, but there really wasn't. So how would you sequel that anyway? So I don't know why people would have expected it to be a continuation of that movie. It wouldn't have made sense. But yeah. Anyway, Eric Math says Rogue Squadron. Is that what you're thinking of, Eric?
It might have been. There's other ones too, like on the series, like on Disney Channel, and they're okay. I mean, some of them are better than others. I don't even remember the name because I usually just watch them once. It's not something that I'm going to rush back to watch. You know, I did like The Mandalorian. That was pretty cool.
There's
Um,
a few of them. There was a lot of
but that
scathing.
had a character that everybody loved, even though it wasn't the same character. Everybody could identify with it.
There was a lot of
So,
scathing feedback regarding a shy or whatever that was, where it had no ties whatsoever to Star Wars, um, and there was no lineage, so to speak. So that was another one that people complained about. But I don't do a lot with Disney anyway, so I don't. I don't watch it. Obi-Wan was a pretty good series, Eric. That's correct.
that wasn't a bad
Um,
one. But there again, you had a character that you knew and loved
yeah.
in
So
it. So you
there's
want to
some good
watch
stuff.
more and earlier stuff and stuff like that. Um, that's like I said, The Mandalorian. You had, even though it wasn't Yoda, you had a character that you could relate with that got you attached to it. Uh, Whereas the other one, I'm trying to think of the name, and it's not bad. It's good content. It's basically a guy who's like a technology thief, and then he ends up becoming kind of uh, in the Republic's uh, liking. But he starts out as basically somebody who is selling stolen goods. So
Oh, are you talking the guy the he becomes the spy?
yes,
Yeah, what okay.
I
I
can't
can't
even
think
tell
of
you
the
the
name.
name of it.
He was only in one Star Wars and it was the one where they stole the secrets. Um Blew up the satellite just before the start of the Star Wars. Hey, Brown Sugar, good morning. I can't think of his name. But
But
anyway,
I mean, if you look at it, even Boba Fett, he was in all the, well, a facsimile of him was in all the movies because they say he's a clone.
yeah.
Uh, People didn't embrace it because number one, he wasn't a character that was loved in the movie. He was a hired assassin.
Boba Fett was
Yeah.
extremely popular.
He was, but he wasn't a character that was loved. He was kind of the nemesis.
Yeah, for only having had like 8 minutes of screen time, he was a huge
Right.
success.
Everybody, and
Yeah.
that's why I say I understand, but at least there was a connection there
What's up,
where you could
Silverman?
connect. Where some of these other ones you can't. Even like the one that has the Jedi with the big octopus horns on her head. You
That's a
can,
shy. Yeah.
yeah, you can kind of relate because she's a Jedi. She talks about all the people that you love in it. Uh, she does encounter Grogu or whatever his name is, and she does encounter Luke. So, you know, there's you have uh, things to draw you in to watch, whereas some of them don't. And I think Rogue Squadron is one of the movies that you don't really. It's just like, it's a starfighter fight movie. So, and I get the cartoon, Rogue Squadron cartoon. The kids love it because they love that.
Well, but yeah, but a lot of kids these days, it doesn't have to make sense.
Right.
They watch videos about stuff that has nothing to do about what's going on.
Anyways, that was a
Yeah.
good squirrel
So,
off into the abyss, right?
oh, we always get squirreled like that.
Yeah, I have never seen those. Like I think I've seen for the first three Star Wars. As soon as one thing I hate, but is genius from a marketing standpoint, is when they started doing like how Star Wars did it. They made like later movies earlier
Yes.
in the history of the events. So people it forces people to go to watch it and go back and watch the entire series of the movies
Well,
to
even some
understand
movies
what's going on.
where they
And
show the ending first, period.
yeah, because they were so because the ones we saw were so long ago, many of the younger generation never bothered to watch those.
Right.
So they they watch these
God,
newer,
I spend
Prequels.
newer, whatever, and they're forced to go back and
yeah.
watch the big, the first ones that we watched back in the 70s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
70s and
did
80s.
you stand in line to watch those? I stood
I
in
did
line
at
for
the first one.
hours.
I did stand in line to watch. Yeah,
Yeah,
I watched.
hours.
I watched Star Wars when it first came out. I stood in line and watched it. I
I
think I
remember.
was like 6 or 7 or I don't know. I was young. When did it come out? 70.
76, 77.
Yeah, so okay, so I was 10, 9 or 10. But yeah, I remember standing in line to watch it.
I remember going to the theater for
But it
Empire
was kind
Strikes
of a
Back.
genius in marketing, and then like
Sure.
the horror films started, they jumped on board and they started doing it. And but I hate that. So I absolutely refused to watch. Hang on a second, my grandson's at my bedroom door. What do you want? Okay, just come and sit down and be quiet, okay? Okay. Oh boy, here comes the girl.
You want
Oh
to
my
in too,
gosh.
huh?
Okay, you guys sit down up here and be quiet. Now, Grandma's on live. Yes, there's popcorn in there, but you can't have that for breakfast. Come on, sit down. Okay, anyway, hi guys. I'm back. Anyway, they
Oh, the
nobody else
joys
is
being a
awake.
grandpa.
Hello.
Hello.
Nobody else is awake, so they come bug Grandma.
Oh, it's all good.
Anyway, so I haven't watched those other Star Wars ones that are like Luke's early life, and I have no idea who that Dark Maul or whatever
Yeah,
is. Or
well, that the early ones are Darth Vader's early life.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's really cool.
I haven't watched those, so
Eric Matt says, could you tell how nervous I was hunting a roll in front of you and Chuck?
Yeah, and you
what
shouldn't be
happened?
because you hunt rolls just like I hunt rolls. You just look at the coins. Now, I
Hey,
was on his
Quahog, what's
Discord.
up? Face
I was on
shift.
his Discord, and he was hunting a roll of pennies, and I just jumped in and watched and talked to him.
Oh, nice. Amanda and I almost went live yesterday, but I had family stuff that came up, so I couldn't.
I almost did a roll dig where I was just searching stuff on the desk and stuff like that, but I was so tired. I ended up literally sending about $200 in postage on packages,
Oh, wow.
35 packages.
Hmm.
Was crazy.
Hmm. Yes, Izzy, you can say good morning if you would like.
Well, good
Hello,
morning.
Lizzie.
That's Azalea. That's Liam.
What's up, Liam?
Okay, now be quiet.
Well, let's go ahead and start getting into today's topic. So, first off, if you guys don't know what SHTF is, it's when the hits the fan. Okay, so that's basically the analogy of when things go bad. So, when you hear this talked about in the stacking or the prepping circle, that's what they mean. Now, most of us on here already know what this is, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. So, I've listened to some conversations lately regarding prepping and getting stuff done. Now, I'll tell you right now, I Mike is cutting out. Yeah, I know that's cutting
Yeah,
out.
it's been cutting in and out.
Let me do this and see if that helps. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to have to find. Let me see if I can do this. Um,
McDonald's drive-through.
well, the problem I have is that every time the software for the microphone updates, I end up with issues with my microphone. So the cutting out and the choppiness of the microphone is just something that happens. So I'm going to see if I can eliminate the resources and move the mic in front of me, take myself off camera, and just do it this way. Um, so let me know if it gets any better. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Hopefully this resolves the situation a little bit. Um, if this doesn't, if this continues to happen, I'm just going to get rid of StreamYard once and for all and just go with Streamlabs. Um, but anyway, in talking with certain stackers and preppers, and I'm not a prepper. I believe in being prepared, but I don't have 2 years worth of food storage, and I don't have a year's worth of water storage. I do have rain collection barrels. I do have um, silver, gold, and lead stocked up. I mean, I do have those kind of things. But what I really kind of want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit about the differences. A lot of people refer to, well, we're going to be back like we were in the Great Depression. And I want to talk about where we're at as a people now. What we
Well, we
have.
can we can talk about the thing right there. We're going to be back like it was in the Great Depression. At one point in time in our history, we absolutely will because it happens over and over and it's something that you cannot not have in economics. There, you can't have good times if there's no significant bad times. Uh, it's just the way it goes. You can't make everything run smooth all the time. It just doesn't work like that. All right, carry on. Sorry.
That's
But I'm
okay.
just saying, as far as a Great Depression, saying, well, we need to prepare for a Great Depression. You do. But, uh, you know, predicting when it's going to happen, that's what you need to do.
Well, and when you
The
talk
hard thing
about
is
the Great Depression, one of the issues with that was that the reason it got so bad, number one, is because nobody anticipated it would be as fast and last as long. And we all know anybody that reads anything on this, even when you look at historical information within the Fed, they made a bunch of decisions that um, caused uh, these issues. One of the issues was the Federal Reserve to act as the lender of last resort. So there's a lot of financial based items where we're talking about banking, and there's a lot of discussion across the board regarding banking. But I don't want to necessarily get into the financial aspect of the banks and stuff. I want to talk about us as a people. I want to talk about what we do, stacking, collecting, And I want to talk about the stuff that we can do to prepare ourselves in a situation. Now, I'm not talking again, I'm not necessarily talking about prepping, but there are some basic fundamental things that we as a people can do to prepare ourselves for situations. And a lot of these, in my opinion, are skills that we've lost because of convenience. So,
Absolutely.
for instance, how many of you in chat right now can start a fire without a lighter, without a torch, without gasoline, without starting fluid? Like, how many of you can do some of the very basic things that would happen in a situation in which we lost power, right? Um, David Carlisle, find me, I'm lost. Yeah, you're not here. And so I want to talk about some of the, hey, what's going on, me? Check Stacker says, I was an Eagle Scout. Eric Math, he practices doing these things often. These are the kind of things that I want to talk about because there's a lot of people here who have a lot of skills. Looking at Scotty Equality says, I can. I know me can. Shift Kicker can. Matt T Coins, I can. Eric can. Roxzilla can. So what's really important is these are kind of some of the things that we need to learn how to do. When you look at some of the skill-based items that exist in the world, we've become very reliant upon technology, but even more so, we've forgotten how to perform certain skills.
About gardening. How many people can grow food?
Yeah. My wife, I love her to death. She is when it comes to organization and management and things like that, but she can't grow certain plants. Like they just don't go. And we don't grow those kind of plants when I'm talking about that, by the way. Um, she can't. Now it's like it's got to be in the sun. Well, this one can't be in the sun. Like you have to read the card. You have to understand. So how many of us have those skills? How many of us actually know what it would take to survive without IT for 6 months? Or if we had a massive cyber attack that took out.
That is one of the things that worries me
Yeah.
more than financial collapse.
Yep.
I mean, we've been through financial collapse. The reason financial collapse usually happens is because people are trying to make easy money, and there's no such thing as easy money.
Right. So check stacker, this is one of the things that I want to talk about. That's actually one of the items that's on my list. And that is a self-contained hydroponic system, right? Which is, basically 1 8-foot piece of 3-inch PVC pipe. Drill some holes in it, build yourself a little lattice, 2 5-gallon buckets, and then you basically pour the water in the top, and then the water filters down. Now, if you're without
Or you
electricity,
have a fish tank underneath it and filter it, push it up from the fish tank. The fish,
well, but how do you do a hydroponic system without electricity, right? So there are certain things that you have to do to make sure that you put those things together. And I'm not going to dig into hydroponics. I am not a hardcore hydroponics person. There's a lot of things that you can do. I have a pond in my yard, and I grow stuff. That's what I use to feed my plants because of the richness of the water and the sludge and stuff like that. Silver Man, could we survive without coin shows? Oh man, that would be horrible. Yeah, but there's a lot of things, and that kind of goes back to one thing. One of the major things is how many of us, and most of us are older. And when I mean older, I'm going to say, I'm going to say, well, some of us are old. But I want to talk about 40 and above. Okay, so when you look at the general population of the people who watch my channel, they're 35 to 90, and so most of us are older, so we understand what it means to sacrifice. But when something like that happened, what would be some of the things that we would have to do? And so I want to open up the Eric Masses 47. I want to open up the chat for just a minute, and I want to ask a couple questions. In a situation, now obviously, barring a couple of these items, food, water, absolute essentials. Okay, we know that's going to happen. What would be, and I want you guys to take this semi-seriously, okay? Matt T. Coyne said, I survived the Depression. Last time I can do it again. There's not a lot of people around still that really understood what happened during that time frame. There are people whose grandparents, my great-grandparents, taught me a lot about it. And they talked about sweeping the dirt. I never quite understood what they meant by sweeping the dirt.
Oh, you're talking about the Great Depression, because there's been depression since then.
The Great Depression, yeah.
We're kind of in one right now.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. We're in a slight recession. I don't even think we're in a recession.
No, not
Not
recession.
when you compare it to 2008 or 84 or
Recession,
83.
Yeah, so there's been three major ones that we've gone through. Looking at 2007, 2008, then there was the crisis in the 70s, and then we had
There was one in the 80s too.
Great
Black Monday they called it.
Yeah, I can't remember what the other one was.
I think it was 83 because I think I was still in high school. I was just getting ready to graduate high school. And my dad lost a ton of money in the stock market. Like enough to where he was like not working and he had to go back to work and all that stuff.
I deal with another YouTuber who his family was pretty well off. And in 2008, with the investments and certain loans were called to action, which meant that you had to pay him in full, right?
And here's the thing with that stuff. Back then, you still had a lot of people that had stockbrokers. And what people like, that's why my dad lost big on Black Monday was because their stockbrokers still have to make their trades to make money. The bottom line is when you go into recession, you don't buy or sell anything. Or if you have extra money, you buy. You don't sell. Back then, they would say, sell, get out. Even the Great Depression, everybody was trying to sell. And only a few people were trying to buy. And those people became monumentously rich afterwards because through every downturn, it goes back up usually. Very, very few companies just bite the bullet and you lose totally. But what are you gaining? You got 10,000 shares at 1 cent a piece. You're getting $100 back. You know what I'm saying? If like in your 401k, I can remember the guy at Ford. He would say, "Don't worry about it. Just sit on it." And in 6 months, you were double where you were at after the recession was over. It came right back.
But again, the Great Depression was a little bit different because we're not talking about months. We're talking about it lasting over a decade.
Right. But will it last over a decade? That's the thing. Nobody ever knows until it starts. So to be prepared, 10 years of solid food, you can do it, but that's a lot of food. I mean, that's a lot of rice and beans in 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
It's one thing to prepare for a year. It's another thing to prepare for 10 years or longer.
Well, and this is where understanding and knowing the skills to do those things are going to come into play. Again, a lot of people are like, well, I'm gonna stack silver and gold. That's great. But there's some things that people have to do ahead of time because I'm going to tell you right now, and this is Frosty talking, okay? This is not financial guy. This is not financial class 101. This is just Frosty talking. You can have 200 ounces of gold. You can have 1,000 ounces of silver. And if you're not smart with your money, and I mean like when stuff start happening and go out and buying a bunch of stuff at the beginning, at the onset of stuff, you're going to be hurting in 6 months' time. Doesn't matter how much you put away.
Well, and having it is one thing. Knowing how to liquidate it is a whole other thing that can be problematic in times of peril.
Yeah, that's another thing. This is why I wanted to talk about the numismatic portion of this in relation to because it's hard to, and I know I'm talking with two people that like to hoard coins. Um,
Who?
Yes, but there is 0.0% of my collection that I use as any type of investment or financial holdings or anything like that. My number one thing is that this is a hobby. I do this strictly for fun. There are
Absolutely.
things that I own that if I was in a pinch, I could sell for at least what I paid for it. Some
And
of the stuff has gone up in value,
here's
but I
a potential.
but
Coins in
there is
general will
there
be worth more.
but there's also that chance that everything I own could become have no value
Yep.
someday.
Well, you've got
So
pennies, you've got everything's copper, and copper is money.
yeah, I mean, it'll have so there will be that. Like, but there is that chance that my 55 double die could someday be worth just copper melt value.
Probably not. And
Probably not, Eric,
actually,
but I'm saying there is that chance.
there's
So
always
that
the
was what I was
potential.
saying.
A
there is
great
that
There's
so
potential for
potential.
anything,
a great
and there's going to be,
example a great example of this is stamps.
yeah,
Okay. Um, my granddad had a really nice collection of stamps, put a lot of money into it. When he passed away, I had done stamps with him. He had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in stamps. The stamp collection that I have now is probably worth $200-300.
yeah. There's
Um,
basically 14 stamps.
there's not
There's
very many. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
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 like
a little
14
more.
stamps the dealers will pay money for.
Yeah, and it's just they're not a thing anymore. Now, will they ever be? Well, we can't say because art is cyclical. You look at various things throughout history, and you look at some of the values that gone up. For instance, you talk about the Cougarand in the 80s when it came to um, gold value, specifically the gold Cougarand had a value of like $850 per coin, whereas our other coins were $230-240. Now, why was the Cougarand so high? Well, there was just this thing about it that everybody thought that the Cougarand was going to be the place where the gold was going to be.
Well,
Um,
that and there was this
People
mystery
lost
of
their
all the
butts with
Krugerrands that were
Cougarands
missing.
in the late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s. Um, and so there's always the potential for stuff to go up and down. But I really, I collect a lot of stuff that I have. I am right there with Paula. My collection. I know I have a stack. I have stuff that is specifically designed. The intent, the purpose is to store some money, and it's not an investment. It's storing some money so I can do one of three things. Number one, I can upgrade the coinage, sell the piece that I want to sell to upgrade or to buy something really nice. Great example of this was I just purchased a 1928 peace dollar. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Found a good deal, got a really nice price for it, did some trades with some other people, got the money, was able to purchase the coin. Now, if I'm in an SHTF situation, I'm way worried less about collecting and more worried about feeding my family or something like that. So, understanding that the money's going to be there is great, but why do we collect? Right? And so, if you're collecting numismatics as a hedge against um, inflation or a way to preserve wealth, unless you're collecting some of the top pops, I don't think
Yeah,
you're
you're doing
making.
it wrong.
Yeah, you're not making very good investment choices. Um, Now, silver and gold, yes, I get that. Okay, um, Coach's Magic, SHTF, living in fear and paranoia. Uh, to some degree, I think there are some people who go to the extreme. Now,
That's right. That's what I was saying
yeah,
about a full blown prepper. Some of those people, it's just like, oh my God, man.
but we also
Uh,
have people who are full blown preppers that live off the grid and live off the land, and when
But they might not be doing it for the same reason that you're thinking.
Yeah,
Some of them
But those
just
are
don't
the
want.
same type of people who had bomb shelters back
That's
in.
right,
yeah,
and they have food. They have 10 years worth of food.
yeah.
The
And
the
so
the nuclear bomb shelters.
when I talk about SHTF, folks, I am not talking about the be all end all apocalyptic, zombie
I'm not going to be
apocalypse and
around when
stuff
that
like that. I'm
happens.
talking about what would happen if we suffered a a concentrated, and I mean concentrated,
A
concerted
huge
effort.
bank failure.
No, not even
Yeah.
that. Um, a huge concerted effort by China or Korea against our food and water infrastructure, right?
Well, all they'd have
I
to do is take out some of our satellites and stuff like that.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
I think
You
the
know,
worst case
take
scenario
out
as
our
far
grid.
as a recession and depression goes is taking out the electronics, is taking
Yeah.
out the internet, taking out. There are so many people in this world that can't live without it. They don't know what life is like without it.
and this is
Anybody
why
under
those skills
25.
are going to be very important,
Yeah, they
right? And
take
this is
everything offline.
yeah. Um, so we talk about, this is an argument you'll hear between cryptocurrency and the reason to stack silver and gold. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. Um, and in a situation where there is some sort of power grid vulnerability and you can't access your money, um, this doesn't have to necessarily be a cyber attack, folks. So I'll give you a great example. 4 years ago here in San Antonio, we suffered an ice storm. It was a massive
Yep.
freeze across the state of Texas. And we were without water, we were without power. Now, fortunately, because of a local uh, subset where we happened to be on what they call an electrical vein. We didn't have any water, but we were able to maintain power through about 90% of that situation. So we were
Yeah,
able to
Shay
stay
went through it
warm.
bad. He was one of the ones that didn't have anything.
Yeah.
They were melting snow on their barbecue outside. Like
Yep.
that's all they had was their propane. That's it.
Well, look at 2000. Was it 2003? The whole Northeast lost electricity, and that was for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was a simple uh, switch station.
Well, and
That
so
went down.
yeah, and so when you look at these things, there are natural events, there are unnatural events, there are cyber attacks, there's
Mhm.
conventional warfare. There's a lot of things that could cause situations like this. Again, when
Electric
I
solar flare. A solar flare could totally disable everything in the Earth.
well, I mean, there's so many things in the astrophysic realm. Neutron star, you get one that has a concentrated a gamma burst towards the Earth, and it would, totally dismantle any protective layers that we had, and would all die within a short amount of time. There's so many of those
Oh
uh,
my
rare
God.
events that are
I
possible. I
gotta
don't.
go.
Right, man. I'm feeling good about the lottery today.
Well, no, but here's my point to this is those aren't the events that I'm talking about, folks.
But
Um,
those are just as likely to happen as anything else.
yeah, well, no, they're really not.
A solar flare?
They're-
A solar flare happens. They happen every day, and they
well,
actually do
they
cause
do,
damage
but you're
to the
talking
grid
about a
every
global
single day.
catastrophe event. It's again, can they happen? Yes, they can happen. Um,
They happen every day. That's why I say there's the internet quits working in, let's say, Nebraska for 8 hours. Chances are it's a solar flare that caused it, and they just got to fix it. I mean, that's like anything else. Most of the stuff it's small in scale and it's easy to fix. Now, the chance of it happening where it's large in scale and not easy to fix, that's when you start getting into increased odds that it's not going to happen.
well, and Eric just posted in the other chat 1859 when the one shut down. We didn't have the infrastructure for it. We didn't understand electrical shielding. There's a lot of things that were put into place because of events like that help protect it. Now, again, when you look at the electrical system and substructure of the early 1900s, compare it to now, the shielding that we have on a lot of our substructures, especially when it comes to high electrical grids, power lines, things of that nature, we're well suited for minor events like this. Now, can they do it? Yes, they have minor impact all the time, but we're talking about big, massive global events. They're very unlikely. The problem is that we can't judge when they're going to happen.
That's right. Ask the dinosaurs about that.
Another one that's in the news right now, if you guys have been paying attention, is we got an asteroid that's going to park itself not too far away from our moon here in the next little while. It's going to be a very near Earth orbit event. And depending upon some scenarios that happen, it could change the trajectory of this thing. And in 60 years, it could be a high increased potential for a grazing or a potential impact with Earth. So there's stuff like this that happens all the time. The asteroid that blew up over Russia, we didn't see until like a year and a half, 2 years before. We knew an approximation, but we didn't have things of that nature. Folks, I'm not talking about these global catastrophes that are going to wipe off the face of the earth. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these events that are likely to happen. A cyber attack.
Yeah, a normal recession, normal. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Recessions and depressions are normal things that happen in an economy. You can't have an economy that is only great all the time. It doesn't work that way.
Right. We go back to the great.
They work together. It's like a scale. You can't just keep gaining and never have a loss. I mean, that's like my grandma. When I was a kid, I used to say, I'm so sad, and this and this and this. And she'd say, hey, there would be no such thing as great times if you didn't have bad times in your life.
You can't have a flower without the rain.
That's right.
Yep.
It's equal and opposite reactions to everything. There is going to be economic bad times. There's going to be years and days and months and weeks that are better or worse than other months and weeks.
Yeah, Coach, that's exactly what I was saying, Coach. Yeah, exactly.
You just have to do your best to get through it and be prepared for it. I mean, you don't have to be prepared for 10 years, because if it's a catastrophe of 10 years, it's a catastrophe. It's one thing, the Great Recession, they call it, 2008. For a lot of people, it wasn't that bad. I mean, yeah, money got tight and life wasn't the same as it always was. But besides that, I mean, we all went on living. You know what I'm saying? It was a great time for silver. I mean, heck, I think silver went up to near $60 in 2008.
Yeah, but again,
out of business.
Just because silver goes up,
I'm just saying,
inverse proportion, right?
Then that happened because the financial world wanted a alternative to banks, which were failing. All of the great economic disasters in our history have one thing in common:
the Fed.
Massive bank and financial failure. And that's usually from writing bad or risky loans to make more money.
Well, yeah, because they borrow against.
The Great Depression had something to do with some tariff or something like that.
One of the major issues with
I would much rather see my bank account grow and silver go way down.
Right there with you. Yep.
Because then if my bank account grew, then I could buy more silver.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
They were buying homes with loans that weren't backed with any money.
Yep. Yeah.
That's why the collapse in 2008. Then they fixed the problem, and then about 6 years ago, they put it back to where it was. So now these risky loans are back again. So there's no reason why we don't have another bank crisis coming up.
Oh, we're already in the initial thralls of it.
I'm just saying, it's our own fault because we keep doing things we know are not right in finance to make extra money. And it's not we in general, it's certain people in general. It's banks.
It's the central bank. Yeah, that's one of the primary.
It's not our central bank, because they're against loaning money for risky things. That's why they raised the interest rate so high, because they didn't want to loan money. Uh,
Yeah, see, Eric,
you're right, Eric Maith. We have a major crisis coming in commercial real estate.
we already
With
have
the
one.
advent of working at home and all that, there's all sorts of commercial real estate that has no outlet to be purchased, sold, rented, anything.
Yep.
Hey, Chappie, thanks for the gifted
My
membership.
kids are
Freaking awesome.
trying to buy a house, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's completely crazy.
Well, right now, that's where me and Frosty were talking. The majority of the last year's inflation has been housing cost, insurance, and actual prices of houses. And I can tell you, my house is tripled in value in about 8 years, which is not sustainable. There is no way that this house is worth what they say it's worth.
Mm-mm.
See, that's one thing that's good about Texas. There's certain requirements or there's certain limitations about how much your house can increase every year.
Well, there is here too, as far as taxation purposes, but as
The
far
bad
as an
thing is
open
going to
real
be with
estate,
all of the people that refinanced their homes at
that's right.
higher estimated value, and it's not going to stay that.
That's right. Well, it's already going down. They're going down
Yep,
because that's
and
what happens
they're going to
when you
end up
raise interest
owing
rates.
more on the house than the house is worth.
Yeah, but unfortunately, when you raise interest rates, there's people that need to buy houses. Like you say,
Hmm.
you're looking for a house. Um, it puts
But
the effect
nobody
on
can
somebody
buy
who
because
legitimately
nobody's selling, because if they sell, then they have to turn around and buy again, and
that
nobody's
that's
selling
right.
because they
And
can't.
it looks like interest rates are
Like,
starting to fall a little bit,
yeah, but there's
but not
still,
enough. I mean, the
even
day
if
at
they
two
go to
percent.
5% or whatever, that's still a lot.
Well, that's what the system is based on, is 5%. If you ask anybody that's been like a mortgage lender for any length of time, they'll say
Well,
that
a
if
lot.
you're expecting it to go below 4.5%, the 1.75%, the 2% loans, that's a dream.
No,
That
it's
you
not
live the
though.
dream.
It was that 4 years ago.
It was that 3 years ago. I
It was
refinanced my house
two and a
for
half. I'm at two and a half
1.75 in
percent.
2021, in
I'm at two
September
and
of
a half
2021.
percent, and I because I and it's not a full, like, my whole. I don't owe on my whole house, but I took out a small
You want to hear
mortgage
something?
on my. Huh?
My first house, my interest rate was 18%
Mine was 9.
in 1984.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, the house only cost $17,000.
Well, yeah, that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And you took a 10 or 15-year loan, but that's when you could put $1,000 in the bank and you
Right.
literally made $50 a month in interest because they were paying 18% in interest.
Yeah.
That's before money markets and CDs and stuff like that. You had a savings account.
Yeah, when
So,
it was actually a savings account.
yeah. And that, I mean, you hear people like for buying houses, I really sympathize with somebody trying to buy a house. But for the first time in 25 years, my money's making 5% in the bank. So there's something, I mean, 5 years ago, all savings account were like 0.0000175%. So unless you had like $50 million in the bank, you weren't making any money. It was costing more than to save your money with the bank fees.
I've never
So
seen a bank loan at 5%. I've never seen a bank at 5%.
right now, well, now they're probably down, but we were getting them 5.015 at my credit union. If you did a 1 year CD, then it went down to
Oh,
market
CDs.
rate.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
different.
different.
Oh, even
So
my
that
money, my
not
money market account was at
And money
5%.
Yeah,
market.
but that's different than your account, savings account.
Then
Right.
yeah.
My savings
So
account
you're
today
talking
is at
something
four,
that's like
right now,
apples and
four and a
pears.
half. But the difference between a money market and a savings account is money market, they do the interest daily, and a regular savings account, it's monthly by a balance sheet. At least that's the way mine works at the credit union.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
so you were talking about two totally different things there. So
right. But what I'm saying is, for the first time in a long time, your money actually is making money. Just
Um,
money that was just sitting there before.
check stacker, that was always my question too. In a true SHTF situation, I can see people bartering salt and like
You're not wrong. Salt was
plant
the first
seeds and stuff
currency.
like that. I do not see them bartering precious metals.
And like I say, bartering precious metals, the thing with precious metals is you have to have an outlet to get rid of them. And not everybody says, hey, I know this guy and he's making um, a little transistor in his garage and he needs silver or gold. Those
And
are the
this
people that are going to be buying precious metals, are companies that can't get precious metals through the actual system. So they're looking for people that have precious metals.
and this all goes back to the very first statement that I made, that the best thing you can do as far as prepping is learn skills.
Yep,
I mean,
learn
like
how
a
to
penny.
garden
Learn,
or
yep. And
or
this all
vegetable
goes
seeds.
back. We can talk about finance all we want. You can talk
Yeah.
about numismatics, but I'm going to tell you, during the Great Depression, a lot of people took their gold and silver coins and buried them. A lot of
And
people
Yep.
burned
put
them.
them things out in the
Small
outhouse.
engine repair.
They ripped their toilet seats off. They built little shelves, put things over it, and hid their money in their outhouses. Um, and I have a good friend of mine when I lived in Utah who he did metal detecting, and he always went to these old properties and asked where the toilets were. And he would always metal detect around those areas, and he always found amazing stuff. So when you're talking about, our coin collections, and you're talking about things like that, a lot of that stuff is not going to we will be able to use it as payment for certain things.
I
Um,
can see that in a situation where we have a financial collapse.
Correct.
I
But
can
if we
see it in that.
lose,
But in a true, like, where there's no food, things like that, I don't
Yeah.
see.
People are going to
yeah,
be worried about food. They're not going to be worried
Yeah.
about silver.
yeah. So in
Mm-mm.
that regard, here's some of the things that I would like you guys to start thinking about. Okay. Now, one thing that's really nice about today is, since the premier train ends no more, we can talk as long as we want to. Not a big deal. Um, I don't have to quit at 10 o'clock to get over to a premier train, which is both happy and sad.
Oh.
But here's the thing that's going to, so yeah, Kevin, seeds,
Mm-hmm.
right? Looking
Vegetable
at
seed
things
and
like, and
salt.
Paula
And
said
salt.
salt. Yeah. Salt was a
Yep.
preservative used to protect meat, right? So
Well, that
if
was my
you,
statement at the beginning. How many people can grow tomatoes? How many people can
Mm-hmm.
actually grow vegetables in their yard?
these are
Small
things
engine
that
repair.
people
Learn
need to
how to do
start
small
to
engine
learn,
repair.
right? And if you're older folks, and again, my generation, my granddad, my
Gotta
great
purify
granddad,
water.
they all taught me the importance of, maintaining a yard and how to garden and watering and understanding things like, yeah, Eric, foraging, right? What plants
Penicillin.
are edible? Um,
Penicillin.
how many? Oh, so here's a question. Put a one in chat if you guys have a farmer's almanac.
I can look
Oh
these
Lord, I
things up.
used to. I don't. I haven't bought one of those in 20 years.
I
Well,
don't have
but
a printed.
how many of you? No, there's a couple reasons that I'm asking this. I
My
have one,
parents always had one.
right? And I get one every couple years. It's something that I learned, and a lot of people are like, "Why? Why would you want that?" It's like, well, remember, folks, if you're in a situation where we have, a massive storm or something like that, or things of that nature, you don't have the internet. It's not available to you. So where's your information going to come from? It's good that you should have. Um, yeah. Well, so Kevin, everyone should put a one because they have access to it. But again, everybody should have copies of some very important documentation.
Well,
Farmer's
everybody should
Almanac.
just know when the first frost is, when planting season starts. I mean,
Some of
that
those
was my
things.
big thing when I moved to Florida, as I was an avid gardener in Michigan. When I moved to Florida, it's a whole new. It's
Exactly.
totally different here than it is
Exactly.
up there.
It's way
Mhm.
different for me when I left Idaho, Utah area and came to Texas.
Idaho.
My zones changed. There are certain plants that I can have here that I couldn't have up there. Um, there are
And there's
also things
plants
I
that
have
you
to be
can't
very
have.
careful for
Yeah.
because of temperature and things of that nature, right? Some of the soils are different, so there's certain things that fare better here. So, for instance, if I'm going to plant something that I don't have to work a lot on. I'm going to be planting blackberries, boysenberries, and things of that nature because they deal better with alkaline soil. So it's important to kind of understand this. Now, for some of us who were older, we had training in this. But my point is, if you want to prepare your families, you want to do that. Teach your kids skills. Teach your kids about, and granted, they don't. Not a lot of people don't want to do this. But if you really want to protect yourself in a situation like this, having skills, learn how to fix things.
Skills.
Yep. Okay. Learn how to fix things. How to put stuff
Eric, May,
together.
try growing tomatoes in the summertime in
I
Florida.
am
Peppers.
a Bible. Buy
Yeah.
them a Bible.
Buy them a Bible. Yeah, that's
Just
definitely a good.
saying. I had
Yeah.
to throw that out there. I had to throw that out there. Anyway, carry on.
Eric says his 10-year-old's better than most. Um,
And that's rare. That's good because I've got one kid that enjoyed gardening.
Yeah.
The rest of them, they were just like, nah.
but see, this is really important. So, and again, we talk about, well, I hear stackers, and I'm going to pick on stackers for just a minute, not to I love you guys. We're all part of the same community, but it's like, well, you're going to have silver and gold. I'll tell you right now that I would much rather learn how to grow plants that are native to my area that are going to cost me less water. I'm going to have to worry about less resources that are going to sustain me than worry about how I'm going to have to figure out how to explain to somebody else how to cut up that 10-ounce bar to pay for some piece of whatever.
Well, and then who are you going to sell it to?
It's going to have to be the people who already have money.
That or somebody who has a reason to need to have it.
Yeah. And so, but again, the people who are going to need to fix those things are going to be the repair people. They're going to be the ones that need to know what's going on.
Copper works too, Kevin.
Yeah. That's a great comment. Again, one of the biggest ones is if you really want to store some things that are going to help you in the long term. Paula nailed it with salt. Having and keep it good, safe, dry place. But salt is going to be one of your most important resources next to having things like water and seeds. And obviously, you're going to want to make sure you're protecting yourself. I'm not going to talk about the pew pew situation, but you're going to want to make sure that you protect those items. But yeah, so when you're talking about, there are some good things. You can do things to keep water pure. So silver has its other uses.
Copper does the same thing.
Yeah.
Rusty. I mean, you look at algicides for pools. I learned that from pools. The best algicides are either silver based or copper based.
Well, yeah. So Southeast Stacker, that's exactly right. People,
get paid salt.
Well, but that's
in the world.
Last week we talked about famous quotes, and we talked about these things about history. And one of these things I like is idioms. I love idioms. Where did the phrase come from? And a man was worth his salt. Now, what they meant by that is a man would be paid for it. So, a good hard worker was worth his salt. So that meant that a really good worker was worth the payment of something that was considered a precious commodity, was something that was extremely valuable because you could use it not only for flavoring, but in the preservation. Because again, you're talking about losing electricity. You're talking about losing things like refrigeration, right? Unless you live in an area where you can ship ice from the mountaintops, i.e., what they would do back in Rome times, go up to the mountains, cut blocks, and then what they would do is they would take like hay and stuff like that, put it in a basement, and then basically they would bury the ice, undig it, pull up a little bit, and it would stay for up to a year. But salt is going to be one of those things that's extremely important. Obviously, having access to water, clean water, how to clean your water.
That's probably the most important thing that people don't realize.
Yeah, water is going to be huge, right?
Clean water is going to be very difficult.
Yep.
When you have 300 million people taking a dump all the time.
Yeah, you have to learn to purify water. Learn how to purify water.
Yep. So having those things in place, having some extra carbon, right?
So
Having
a
some silver
few
and stuff like
gallons
that.
of bleach is not a bad idea. Like maybe like 500 gallons.
Or iodine.
Right. Yeah. So, and making sure, so yeah, Southeast Stacker, making sure you store your water properly. That's going to be definitely a plus. Um, you're going to want to make sure that you uh, have a way to keep it clean, cycle it, stuff like that, right? You're going to want to have a little bit of salt in your water to make sure that, because you want it more saline than you want straight, whatever. You want to watch the pH and stuff. So there are things
There,
like that, but there's essential skills. There are some things that you want to do, and the questions that came to me were like, "Hey, Frosty, what are we going to do with our numismatic items?" I was going to say numismaticists, just
Numismaticist.
because when I first started,
Numismatist. A
I always
numismatist.
said that wrong. Um, the numismaticist.
you
Um,
know, you know how I'm not saying anything.
But again, skills are going to be some of the most important things that you can do. Okay. And so, not to knock, again, stack, prepare, have your money, do that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that it's not wise for you to put that stuff away, because there is going to be a place for all of it. But the more fundamental, the more bottom line, bare bones choices that should be made are stack and collect those things that are going to genuinely preserve your ability to provide. If you hunt and you don't have salt, how are you going to store your meat? If you guys have ever been to Alaska, got to have a great friend of mine who has 300 or 400 acres in Alaska. And for 2 months, all he does is he gets
Dry
into his
fish.
boat. But he does two things. So he does fish. He drops lines, and they do that.
No, I mean dries it. They dry it and make
They
jerky
yep,
out of the
they do.
fish.
But what he does is he goes and takes old conifer pines, cuts them off, and then puts them in the river where there's these little jetty areas where it's kind of a little bit more calmer water next to rough water, because this is where fish like to spawn. And so what he does is he puts these conifer pines in the water, and then the fish spawn on the pines. And he goes and pulls these things. It's a skill he learned from uh, the the nomadic tribes that have passed through there. The what do they call them? The Eskimos. There's the
Inuits.
I think that's what they're called. I can't remember. Um, but he collects those things, and then what he does is he stores them in a saltwater solution, and then they eat those. They have salmon and stuff that they collect, and they hang them, and they dry them, and they smoke them, and then they do uh, they salt them, and then they, like Eric was saying, they jerky them. So some of these skills, and understand how to preserve. So you can hunt, but if you can't preserve your meat, it doesn't help you. um, Learn how to garden, but you still have to be able to learn how to preserve the items when it's harvest time. How do you
Learn
preserve
how
and
to
store
bow
grain?
hunt. Learn how to bow hunt.
Yeah,
Learn how
exactly.
to can food. Like
Well,
my mom.
those are some of those skills. When I was younger,
Skills.
my mom and my grandmother and my great grandmother and my aunts, they would have canning sessions.
I
And
used to do it when I was in Michigan. I grew basically all the vegetables I would use for a year in my. I had a garden that was about 100 by 60 feet, and
yep.
yeah, I'd grow everything and I'd can it in September through October. I was canning every day.
I love to garden. Like, I mean, I can't say I love to get out there and pull weeds and stuff, but I love to grow vegetables. I
I
love
like it,
I
but I
love
don't
it.
like the
Like,
work.
it's so exciting to go out especially if you grow them from seeds
Yeah,
and you
old
go
age
out there
is taking
every
its
day
toll.
and you
Kevin,
check,
yeah,
and then they start poking their little heads out of the ground, and it's so exciting. You feel like a proud parent.
yeah, Kevin,
You don't dress properly. That is not. You're not lying, Kevin.
yeah,
That's for
that
sure.
is very important. So again, folks,
Yes.
it's important to learn some of these skills. We've become so acclimatized And I am just as guilty of it. I don't want to go to the store. I'm just going to have them deliver it. And I get on my phone and I order my groceries, and then 2 hours later they drop it off at my front door.
I've done that a
Right?
couple times
And
when I've
it
been
oh,
doing
it's an amazing thing, especially when it's really
Yeah, we did
busy
it
I
when
or
like
it's
to.
COVID
really
came
I
cold
out.
don't
out,
get my vegetables and meat and stuff that way because I like
right?
to pick my own vegetables and meat.
But it's
I
important.
just like
So,
shopping too much. I get out of the house, I get to walk, I
Ew!
get to grow things.
Oh, something's wrong with you.
yeah. Well, we knew that already.
Well, that's fine. I can take that. My good qualities far
He
outweigh my
likes
bad
to
ones.
shop.
No, I like to shop for groceries. Like I
Oh,
went grocery shopping before this. I just got back about 10 minutes before we
I
started.
spend way too much money grocery shopping.
See, I don't. I only buy certain things, and I only buy things if they're on sale. I
Look
mean,
at, here
I'm
we
my
go,
dad's son,
interrupting
and
Frostbite again. He's like, "Can I ever finish a sentence?"
sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
If it gets out of hand, I'll tell you it gets out of hand. But again, here's the stuff that I like. I love the conversation that happens with the three of us in here. It's random. It's rare. Nobody has any idea what the hell's going to be said. Um, and all of them are valid points. And I'm looking at the comments in chat. This gives me a minute to look through and seeing things like Kevin, learn how to field dress. You can hunt, but if you don't know how to clean an animal, you're in trouble.
That's
Um,
true.
Really,
Cleaning a fish, storing a
if you
fish.
learn
You
how to hunt is another whole thing with the field dressing.
Yeah, you
Know
can
where
yeah.
you're going
ruin.
to hit that thing when you shoot. You better hit it in the right spot because if you hit
Yeah,
it in the wrong spot, field dressing ain't going to help you.
that's
Yep.
right. Everything's ruined.
And so there's a lot of stuff that you really need to learn. Now there are people out there. Am I asking you?
Tastes like chicken, Kevin.
Am I asking you to go pick up a 30-aught and go learn and go take down your first mule deer? And no, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just saying that learn the skills. Learn how to clean a fish, right? Learn how to actually clean a fish. Um, Find somebody who understands how to do things like start a fire.
Hide your pets.
Say again.
Right.
I said, hide your pets. It's gonna be
Well,
one of those. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the
but
cats.
but here's
That was as better as the hawk too. I posted
Eating
so
the
much
dogs.
stuff
They're
on
eating the cats.
Facebook.
Eat the cats. Eat the cats.
And then the guy with the rap song, did you hear that one? That was great.
the official new Eat the Cat rap song. Yeah,
They're
Yeah.
eating
I
the-
saw that
There's
one
a
too.
dance and everything that goes with it. Oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh, it's fantastic.
Key deer wouldn't feed a dog. No, they wouldn't. They're small, but even regular deer. I'm in South Florida, and they get these big giant antlers, and they're literally. I had a boxer. They were like the size of my boxer with these big giant antlers on it. But we got gator here. Lots of gators we can eat, and python. Hey, as long as you're
But
not
I'm
squeamish.
sorry. I am sorry to say that I am one of those people that if there was a SHTF situation and I was hungry enough, you better hide your dog.
Well, I dated a girl a long time ago from Thailand, and I asked. They didn't name their dog.
Nope.
Yeah,
And
that's
she says
right.
it's because she says not that it has ever happened since we've been in the United States. She says, but when we lived in Thailand, there was a summer that there was a huge drought and there was no fishing and no protein and everything, and they ate their dog.
Yeah,
They did it
I
to
am that
survive, not
person.
because they wanted to eat their dog, but they had a choice to make.
Azure
Well,
was a TMI.
yeah, Azure, I understand.
I'm
But
just
here's
being honest. I'm sorry, but if I'm listen, hide your auntie too.
oh, that's nasty.
No,
And so, yeah, I mean, not that I would do
don't
it, I couldn't because
I
I
don't
would
do
just see
well
its
being
little
hungry.
glazing eyes looking at me. But
I don't
there's
care.
societies out there that's the norm. They have dogs running around the village that are pets, but they don't name any of them because they don't want to be attached to them.
Gator's good. I've had
Gator's
gator
excellent.
bites at the fair before.
And
Dan's
that's
like,
like, hey, if there's a thing like that, we've got iguanas here. It's chicken of the tree, baby.
I've seen that.
Barky
They,
Yeah.
Burgers. That's
I have
funny.
seen that. They have like neighborhood like iguana barbecues. Like
Yeah. And I got this soft pellet
chicken of the
meat here.
Hey, Silver Selling
Take 'em right
Machine.
out.
Welcome to the Die Clan. I appreciate you becoming
That's
a member,
funny.
my
Chicken
friend.
of the trees.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I
I
again, these are we say this jokingly, but again, you look at
Yeah.
number
I
one,
mean,
Joking or
I
troking,
am
what does
if
it
kind
if
of
tell you in the
joking,
service?
if you
but
haven't
I'm
been
talking
out,
about like if it was a really SHTF situation, we're
I can
all, you know what I mean? Like,
I can tell you what my uncle used to say when times were bad. If you ever are hungry, if it's got red blood in an asshole, you can eat it.
yep.
well,
That's like one of the first
yeah, but
lessons in the army they used to teach you during World War II.
well, but the thing is, and again, when you see a lot of these people, again, we get spoiled to our pets in the
Oh
U.S.
my god.
If you go to other places and you see,
That's
the goats and the
fantastic.
stuff all laying around doing whatever, they're not they're hurting those animals. They grow them for food,
Yeah.
and so it's important to understand. You want to know what a situation is tough. Talk to the older generation and ask them what it was like for situations. Now, there's not a lot of people alive that have lived in the U.S. for the last 50, 60, 70 years who have genuinely had it really, really bad.
That's right.
There have been
But that's
moments,
one of the reasons frostbite
right?
why it's not such a stretch to believe that that is actually happening in
Well, that's
Ohio.
why it's potentially
Because those
time for it to
people,
happen.
it's not only for food, they use them for rituals and stuff too. They are a completely different
Oh, you're talking
um
about yeah, that's a different subject, but yeah, that's
no,
where the
I mean
voodoo
it's
and all
not.
that stuff
Why
comes
is
from.
it so hard to believe that that's actually happening? Because it's a different culture.
Well, the
I
thing
mean,
is I
they've
don't
come
think
over
they're
here and
running around stealing people's pets.
we've given them cars. They're crashing into
They can
restaurants.
go get them legally from the rescues.
Yes.
They don't even have to capture some pets. They can just go get them.
Well, no, they charge you to adopt animals.
Yeah, and in some
Not
cases it's quite
free.
expensive.
Yeah, it's quite expensive.
But
But
let's get off
still,
of this topic,
yeah.
please.
But
Okay,
I'm
I
just
know,
saying though,
I know.
I'm not trying to be like
Let's
I don't know
deviate.
either way. I don't know either way. I'm just saying, but different cultures, there are different cultures out there that things are okay that are not.
Well,
I took a
exactly. That's
class
what I was
in
saying. That
college.
that family from Thailand, they raised their dog, they
Mm-hmm.
loved their dog, they didn't name their dog, and they didn't name their
Right.
dog for a reason. No, their dog was called Dog.
Well,
Dog.
you had the pet pig, right, Paula?
I did. It died. It got scours.
So
Yes,
again,
I did have a
a
pet
lot of
pig.
now
But
here's coming from an age where how many people did 4-H in chat? If you did 4-H, put a one in chat. Um,
I wish I would have done 4-H. I really
so
want to get my
we
grandkids.
had things, and I did this one summer, and I ended up having not didn't have to do it anymore after that. One, I had enough credits, but two, I ended up learning how to do sprinkling system for yards. So I ended up doing that instead. But we would feed the cattle, raise the cattle. We would do things like work with different people, and we would feed pigs. We would learn how to take care of the sheep and all those things that came with maintaining a healthy population and the controls that had to be put into place, and how they did certain things to the animals to make sure that they didn't overbreed and things of that nature. And they never named them, and I never understood why they wouldn't name pets. And as a kid,
Hmm.
it's like, folks, this is a working ranch. These animals aren't going to be here at the end of the season. Some of them will, because they're
Like
breeders or
Sally.
what like that, right? So again, when you're looking at um, places across the globe, not everybody raises cattle, not
Yeah, me
everybody
neither,
raises
Asia.
sheep, and so there are different. It's what you can do now, regardless. And again, I don't want to get into that whole political dog and cat thing again anymore. But what I want to look at doing, and I understand there's a lot of humor and stuff around that, but again,
That's why I like it.
potential
It's the
sources
humor
of
part for
contention.
me.
That's so funny.
Um, it's important to understand that, again, I'm not telling you don't collect coins. You guys know I love teaching the histories, and I like showing you guys. I collect it because I enjoy it. I
Hmm.
enjoy the history behind it. I'm going to continue, but if it happens, I'm going to be hiding some of my stuff. I'm not going to be utilizing my numismatic stuff. Now, if you're looking at something to liquidate, it's going to be a little bit harder to liquidate some of your numismatic items than it is going to be silver or gold. So if you're
Hmm.
looking at things that you can potentially liquidate, then you're going to have to be careful.
And
You guys
here's
know,
a good penny thing.
hold on just a
What we
second,
got?
Eric. Hold on.
Okay.
Pistol Packing Pilot has a great example of this. He has a full collection of AU or better seated Liberty half dollars. Some of them are 62, 63, 64. His collection's between $8,000 and $10,000. He wanted to liquidate some of this stuff. He could not find a buyer for it. And it's
Then he's
because,
looking in the wrong places.
well, but we're talking about an entire set. A lot of people just don't have the money to
Yeah,
Well,
don't
drop a
have.
bunch
it
of
is
stuff,
hard to sell entire sets like
right?
that. Most people
And
will sell
so
off their key dates
they
and
want
Get
to
it
sell
out
off
before it's
individual
time.
ones. People only wanted to buy pieces of it. And he was like, to try to do this as a whole, it was very difficult.
hmm.
And so, we worked with other people and he talked with other people and eventually was able to take care of it. But when you're talking about collecting and doing things of that nature, people are more likely to buy the one than they are the whole set. So
Hmm.
having realistic expectations when you collect coins, what is the purpose? Again, Paula stated this at the very beginning, and it's very important for people to realize the importance of what she said. I collect because I like it.
That's
Hmm.
right.
It's not an investment.
Most
And
collectors
so
do though.
have now it's different when you're talking about these really top pop items.
That's
And
different.
the best of the
We've had
best,
that
and people,
discussion.
competing. Some of these people spend ungodly amounts of money. Look at the Stella that just sold from Great Collections, $427,000.
Yeah.
Uh, it's my house. It's unreal. And so, the people who buy these big items that they actually maintain their value and they're probably not going to drop tons are going to be those high end collectors. But if you're in a situation, it's not going to be your numismatics. It's not going to be your silver and gold. It's going to be the skills that you learn. It's going to be having some of those items that are going to help you survive. So again, I don't want people going, well, I don't collect coins because if a situation happens, I'm never going to be able to do it. Well, guess what, folks? The Great Depression happened and we still have coins from that era.
Yeah.
But there's an unfortunate thing that is happening to our hobby, and it has a lot to do with us, and not us personally, us
Aspects of
as
us.
as
Yes.
As a
content
community.
creators, huh?
What's up,
As
freaking
a
awesome?
community, yeah.
As content creators.
Yeah.
And most of us are not guilty of this, but there are the few out there who are souring the hobby because they're giving new people coming into it a false impression that this is a get rich quick hobby, that they
That
can
is the
find.
problem with the hobby.
That
Yep.
is the hobby. It's an unfortunate thing that's happening, and it's not bringing more people into the hobby. It's making more people shy away from it because the instant they find out that they have been had, that they're not going to get rich by finding stuff in their pocket change and stuff like that they should just be doing this for fun and treating it as a hobby, treating it what it is, for what it is. They leave the hobby and then they take others with them.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times a week I say, if you're doing this to get rich quick, don't do it.
Yeah.
You might
It's
as well stop
not.
now. Hey, if you want, there is a chance that you can make some very formidable money. Now, to get rich, my idea of rich might be a little different than other ideas,
Yeah,
people's
you
idea
could
of rich.
find a car payment. You could
You
find
can find a
potentially a
hundred
house
thousand dollar
payment.
coin.
But the odds that you are going to find something that is going to change your life dramatically
You
are
less than the
probably,
lottery.
yeah, way less.
Yeah,
So,
less than the lottery. Um, and yeah, I say it all the time when people say, "Hey, I got this and this and this, and it's like, no, you don't. How do you
But the
know?
joy you get from it, if you're doing it right, is
And
priceless.
that's me. I get a peace of mind. It gives my brain,
Hmm.
it makes my brain work and all that. That's why I do it. I love it.
And the
Um,
community, I mean, look at the community we have.
you know,
You know, where else are you? Where else can you find um, friendships and people that support you and stuff that you have never met and probably will never meet
Yep.
in your lifetime,
yep.
but that you get to talk to every Saturday. You get to come on and you get to have this, you know, amazing conversation and things in common with people. I mean, it's yeah, it's a pretty special thing, but
So the other day, I got to sit down and eat lunch with freaking awesome. And so him and I got together and just visited and just chit chat. And we went and,
mhm,
had lunch, drank a drink, sat down, visited, played a game of pool, talked about some stuff. And he gave me 2 coins. He gave me a 2 cent piece and he gave me a 20 cent piece. And I was like, dude, you can't give me that. And he's like, dude, I'm more interested in the friendship than I am the coins.
Oh, I
Um,
get that all the time. Will
you,
you sell me coins? No, but I'd probably
mhm,
give it to you.
yeah. And so it's fun. But what I go back and I listen to him talk about the stuff that he did. And if you guys don't have, if you're not subscribed to Freaking Awesome, he's one of the best moderators for copying, posting links, and sharing information with people from other channels. Like he's really good about sharing the information in there. But I probably would have never met him had it not been for YouTube. Even living in the same city, I would have
mhm,
never actually ran into him. I may have said hi to him in passing, but I would have never become his friend. And my life is richer because of it. I would have never met Paula or Eric. Um, One, we live in different parts of the globe. I mean, the United States. I never would have came into that position. My friend Tiger, I would have never met him. Um, and him and I are great friends, and we talk about things. And so this community has done a lot for me. So when I talk about stuff like SHTF and what is SHTF and what are those things that you can
mhm,
prepare for, these are all things that we can talk about because we all have differences in story. We all have differences in viewpoint. We all have differences of opinion. But what's happening right now in our society is a division of people. Okay. And take out the politics from the group of people that are in chat right now. Take the politics away from it. And we all have fun conversations. We laugh, we joke. We're sad when some of the members of our community pass away.
mhm.
We protect each other when we find out somebody's out there to manipulate or to play. We reach out there and we grab a hold of them. There are people in this community that some people cannot stand that I'm friends with. And there are other people that people love in this community that I can't stand. But you know what? It doesn't mean that I'm not going to show them any kind of respect because you know what? That's what we are as a people. That's truly who we are as a people. And what I like about this community, when we get away from politics, screw the politics, set it aside, we are just people that are doing something fun. And ultimately, that's what this hobby is. And so, why did I say what's SHTF when we're talking about coins and all of this stuff? And that's because the premise of what we do is a hobby. If you are utilizing numismatics to try and protect yourself and you know you're trying to offset and save money, numismatics is not the way to do it. If you are trying to create yourself a better life by stacking silver and gold, and you think that's going to save you if there's a massive worldwide food shortage, you might be surprised. But I'll tell you what we can do, the relationships that are going to be in here, the connections that we have, having somebody who knows how to fix plumbing, having somebody who's really good with gardening, having people that you can talk to and joke with about some of that stuff.
Steve.
Steve, I can't stand you, Frosty, but I come to most of your streams. I love you, brother. But this right here, what's happening right now, the discussion, the conversations we have. I appreciate you too, Chappie. Looking at the conversations that are happening and looking at the friendships that can be made, community is way more important than silver, than gold, and money. This is how we are going to heal our nation. This is how we can survive. When you look at stuff that happened during the Great Depression, people pulled together. You had families come together, living in one home. You had people doing work for each other. You had people teaching people to do stuff. You had uh, you had more community, right? This is what's going to be needed. We need to build our communities. We need to get over the petty bullshit. Learn how to agree to disagree. And, in the immortal words of, can't we all just get along? We don't have to get along, but we need to be able to communicate. We need to be able to talk and understand our differences and be okay when somebody else doesn't have our viewpoint, right? These are the things that are going to help us in that situation. Because if everybody's out for their own, nobody wins. So that's my point. That's where I wanted to go with this. So, Eric, I cut you off a little bit ago when you were talking about pennies.
Yeah, I was talking about the, what is it, SHTF or STFU or what, I don't know what it is.
STFU.
One of the acronyms, but there's a good
Shut
thing
the
about people
up.
stacking 8 pennies together and putting them in a 12-gauge shotgun shell, and it works just like a shotgun slug.
Mm-hmm.
There's videos all over, and it works. It's a great thing. So saving some pennies in some empty shotgun shells and getting it pressed. I mean, if you're talking about stuff like that, that's a great thing for somebody who's prepping to know. You don't need the lead. You can use copper.
Well, one of the skills that I'm working on is learning how to make my point in 30 seconds or less.
Good
because
luck.
the generation coming up, that is their attention span.
Whenever it says the skills, I always think of police academy. I'm learning how to do an emergency tracheotomy with a steak knife.
I could do that. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult in the future to communicate with this generation coming up, because if we don't do something about getting them off of those phones.
Hey, coaches, I think that the message is you can have your hobbies, and your hobbies can actually be used. There's certain things within a hobby that you can use within your everyday life if you have to.
Yeah, Coach, that's a great way to summarize it.
Treat it as a hobby. It's just supposed to be fun. Just treat it as a hobby.
There was a question up earlier that somebody says you can purify water with silver or copper. Technically, you're not purifying. They're antibacterial, so you're removing bacteria from the water. It doesn't mean that it's purified. It could have other things.
It could have an amoeba.
Right. There's another thing that you can learn to do, which is very, very easy to do, and that is steam distill water. So you could take any water you can get your hands on and steam distill it.
And make clear, clean, fresh water. You just drink the condensation, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to conserve energy, you can distill too.
Yeah, if you know how to distill alcohol, you know how to distill water. It's the same process.
He missed that joke, by the way.
Spam.
I love MASH. MASH was so much fun. It was a great show. I still watch it from time to time. So, Eric, I don't disagree. I think that some of the best the best weekends, the best times that I've had is when I didn't have a phone. When I was
Right
out
back when I go
camping,
grab some coffee.
no problem. When I was out camping with
Absolutely.
my friends, out there, take a fishing pole, sit in the water, go jump in the lake, go jump in the stream, and just get and sit down and know we don't. I don't do enough of that anymore. I I'm so reliant upon technology to communicate with friends now because they're all over the globe. I've got friends all over the world, and so utilizing technology is a great way to use or to communicate with people. Right? We can have instant communication. If we want to find something, we could find it out instantly. It's right at our fingertips. Um, but get away and actually dig into um, I really do. I like what Coach said. Take and diversify your hobbies and find a hobby that you can use as a everyday skill or survival. I think it's great because it's important to learn those things because again, number one, it's good for us as a person to get out and do some work with our hands and learn how to do some stuff. Feel the earth between your toes. Doesn't necessarily
Touch
mean,
grass.
huh?
Touch grass.
Yeah, I mean, like get outside and do stuff and learn. I know there's a lot of people with severe allergies and they can't do stuff like that, but doesn't mean that you can't learn how to garden in your home. Just learn
Right.
how to do some of those skills because those are going to be the things that are very important if something severe happens.
Heck,
It's the
start a basil
skills.
plant, start a
Yep.
hot pepper plant, just in a pot, so you
Well,
can have fresh basil.
you know what I always used to joke with people. It's like chia pets. Remember those?
Chia.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you remember those? Um, they 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 basically taught you at a very young age how to grow a lot of little simple like bean shoots or bean sprouts or thyme or parsley or things of that nature. But again, just research what grows in your area. Like start off and find out what in your area goes. Vote for Pedro. Got to run, friends. Driving 3.5 hours to have dinner with
Hi,
SGT.
Pedro.
Outstanding. Well, have a good one. Be safe, Pedro. Text me. Let me know you're good. Okay. Um. I always, whenever I have friends driving for quite some differences, I enjoy when they let me know that they're good and safe. So, Pedro, if you'd please send me a text and let me know you get there and you're good to go, I would appreciate it. Um, Jack of all trades, master of none. That's me. Well, I can't say that. I'm master of two because I have two master's degrees. So, um, but even then, yeah, it's just learn a bunch of stuff, right? And anyway, too much fun. So, what do we want to talk about tomorrow, folks? What sounds fun? You guys have
Me.
anything that you guys want to talk about in chat? Paula, we can talk about you anytime.
Talk about me. I don't know. Coins. Let's talk
Want to
about
talk about
coins.
me? Want to talk about I? Want to talk about?
Me,
Yep,
me,
can't say much
myself,
more than that.
me.
And I definitely won't sing it because I like you all, except for Steve. I don't like Steve, but I'm glad you're here.
Chia. I had a Bob Ross chia pet.
Those were hilarious.
Oh, you know
It
what?
was great.
There is here in San Antonio. I need to look and see if I got it. There is a how to paint like Bob Ross class.
Friendly little happy little
And
baby.
it's taught by somebody who actually worked with Bob Ross. I really want to look at doing that. I think that would be so much fun. Why silver palladium have lagged in the market? Gold has been the only real winner.
Oh my gosh. Really? There's like 100 gazillion streams out there that you could talk about that with. Just saying.
Master of, well, the thing that I
And
like about
isn't it all just kind of guessing anyway? I don't know. I don't know
so
shit.
there's again when you're talking about don't get me wrong, if you're a stacker, you're a prepper, you're a collector, um do what you enjoy, right? I'm not going to tell anybody I have collections that I'm trying to grow, and I have silver and gold set aside that if I need to pay for something in a situation where I get low on funds, or because of my job, if I don't get paid, I need to make sure I have something to cover certain costs of things. So I do it for financial stability. I think people should do that, but I also think it's extremely important. Ashes, what's up? Good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well. There's for my first responders, much love. Good friend of mine.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, Azure. If I was to guess anything, I would just say because to me it seems like it's more stable
Unlike
than
Paula.
it's not as volatile as silver, and it just seems like if you go to any of those things and you look at the graphs that they have, which is what I kind of just go look at every once in a while, the graphs that they have, and you look at historical, like 5 year graph, it seems to me like it has like a more stable, um I don't know even how to say it. Like right now it's gone up. It's been going up a lot, but just seems like over like a 5 year, 10 year thing, it just seems like it's more stable investment than silver.
Hey, what's up, Angry? Good to see you, bud.
Because silver has a tendency to like do a real rapid rise and a real rapid decline,
Yep.
rapid rise
Yep.
and a rapid
It
decline.
usually does rise rapidly during a bad economy.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
but and there's other people been in the chat that have said the key isn't having it. The key is trying to get rid of it when you need to get rid of it. Who's going to buy it when the
That's
economy
the
is bad?
thing, right?
Like I said, I had a coin shop from the late 90s till about 2007, 2008. And I didn't, I was like, you have to keep buying. These places have to keep buying silver at 60, and everybody wants to sell it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I have so many friends that went belly up in the coin shop business because they didn't have the capital to buy $60 silver, and then it went down to $12. The thing is it went from 3 to 60 and then back down to 12. So a lot of them did in the long run make it okay because they were still selling that $3 silver at 50 and $60 too.
And I think as a commodity, gold just has a higher buying and selling point. Like use jewelry as an example.
Gold, and that's why that was my motivation for getting out of it more so than I didn't want to take the financial risk that was involved with the
Hmm.
buying and selling, is I couldn't do my hobby. I do this because
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And all I was doing was buying and trying to get rid of scrap. I was a
Hmm.
scrap dealer that bought coins for convenience. Most of the people that I bought coins from, it was convenient so they didn't have to go to the bank too.
Hmm.
You have somebody that's got some key date coins, you pay them for the key date coins, and they're like, well, what about these? And it's just like, they're not worth anything but basically pocket change at that point.
Hmm.
The selling rate back in 2000 for a roll of 1960D BU pennies was 65 cents. So that means the dealer was paying 55 cents for a 50-cent roll.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't do albums. A lot of people do, and and it is fun. I have one album that I've completed, but and it is there is a satisfaction to completing an album. But when you go to sell it, you almost always have to break it up.
Yeah.
Almost always.
Yeah, and that's the
Very
thing that I was talking about earlier when it came to pistol
right.
packing pilot and having collections. And don't get me wrong, they're a lot of fun to have, and I have a number of books. But what's going to happen is people are going to want to find those two or three items in each one of those books that's key date, and that's what people are going to want to buy because they only want to buy the items. Most people have everything else that I have.
Well, and most series are it's fairly easy to complete an album minus the key dates.
Absolutely.
So most people can do that on their own. So it's not one of those things. Like a typeset would be something, a typeset album is something that I do see people selling as an album that does fairly well and
They
sells
do.
pretty easily, one that's completed.
I just
Huh.
saw an average circulated $50 typeset sell for over $300.
Yeah.
It was in one of those capital holders,
Hmm.
plastic capital holders.
Yeah, because a lot of people who buy those just want the completed typeset. Um, because sometimes those can be difficult to complete. Um,
Well, and
yeah.
what I'm doing with my typeset book is I'm
But
trying,
it goes back to the fun, right? It is
yeah.
fun to fill an album.
But one thing I'm trying
Um,
to do with mine is in the ones that I can, I'm trying to make them key dates so that it's a even more kind of unique item, like
oh, your
the
typeset?
my typeset, right? Try to
Yeah,
make those
yeah.
the key dates, and
Yeah, you can do all kinds of things with those.
understand that the typeset book, I want to have two. I want to have one of really nice grades. Which date, it doesn't really matter for me. I just want really nice, good, clean, solid versions of the coins. And then the next one I want to do, which is what I'm starting to work on right now, which is the key dates. Um, I like, yes, Chappie, some of those Morgans are amazing. And, I'm doing a video on Charles Barber. And one of the things about Barber coins is I can't stand a Barber unless it's XF or better. They look horrible when they're wore down. I can't stand the design. But when you get all the design elements there, it looks really, really good. Um, and so I want to have one album where I have some really nice quality
Coin
coins.
album.
And it'd be cool to have a really nice quality coin. Now, sometimes, even if it's not a key date, they're so expensive that $3, 4, 5, $600 if you get into the Gobrek dollar, or you get into your seated Liberty dollars, or you get into the trade dollars or things like that. You're looking at a couple $100 for just a G8 coin. Um, but if I can, then I would love to have some really nice quality ones. So I'm going to work on another one that's going to be the the higher quality, or excuse me, the key dates instead of just the higher quality. I think that would be a lot of fun, but it's going to take a
Alexander
long
Smith,
time to get there.
if you want to do that, the best coin album to finish that brings the best money, be prepared to spend a ton of money. Um, because you're gonna get out of an album what you put into it,
Yep.
unless you like overspend and
Minus 10%
yeah. But a
or
fun one,
20%.
it would be to me a fun one would be doing the commemoratives,
I mean,
the classic commems.
here's a thing from a coin dealer's point of view. Even the ones that buy and sell silver, they have a margin that they set. So let's say silver's at $25 an ounce. They don't pay $25 an ounce, very rarely, unless it's something special. Most of the time, for just generalized silver bullion, they're probably going to be, um, let's just say, buying at 23.50. And then if it's 25, they're probably going to be selling at 26.50. Everybody goes, well, that's not fair. Well, they're paying electric bills, they're paying help, they're paying all this. That's not fair either. So you have to have a margin built in. So when they buy a coin collection, they're not going to give you what you think it's worth. Now, that being said, if you did this collection over 20 years, they're going to pay you more than you probably have into it because coins usually appreciate, even if it's an insignificant appreciation, they do appreciate. So, say, what should I put together that would have the most value? If you want to make money on coins, just buy key date coins that are in great condition and don't even worry about the album.
Exactly.
Just buy good coins.
Just buy
Don't
good
buy the
coins.
junk, the filler around it. The filler around it is for interest of your own interest
Yeah.
because you'll never get what it's worth.
Hmm.
One thing that I want to talk about, and I've said this a number of times, if you're going to do books, the book you use matters. Okay, so make sure that you're getting something that's archival quality, and make sure that you're investing in a good quality book. Just because you spend a lot of money for the book doesn't make it good quality. Make sure the book that you get is archival quality or museum quality. Um,
Absolute
yeah,
wisdom right there.
because
Archival quality is important.
because if you don't, you run the risk of having what happened with Paula's grandmother and her Mercury dimes,
Yeah.
which was
Well, my
quite sad.
grandmother's biggest mistake was that she put coins that were better condition than circulated condition in books instead of albums, in folders. She put them in the like Whitman folders, and those are okay to store circulated, coins, but anything above that, terrible, terrible.
Oh, here's just a good piece of advice. If you're collecting something that you think is high in quality, you should treat it as such. You should
Yep.
treat it like it's high quality. Whitman is not high quality. It's a piece of,
Yeah.
it's for kids. I mean, that's how I got re-involved in the hobby as my son actually wanted those blue penny folders. He saw them at like Walmart or something. And it's like, well, that's a great Christmas present. Got him pennies and this and that. And then I was the one that was back. I had collected when I was a kid. He did it for 8 months and he was done. And there I am 30 years later with pennies falling out all the doors of my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Folders are okay for like kids, and like I said, for if you're just going through pocket change and putting like a nickel set together through pocket change
Right.
or whatever. But even then, if you find like a 50D, or if you find, like, if you're doing the Jeffersons, or you find anything that's mint state, don't put it in a folder. Um, First of all, why would you want to collect anything where you can't see both sides of the coin? I don't
that, yeah.
understand that. They're going to tone completely different. They're going to wear completely different. You're going to have an obverse side with that's in better condition than the reverse side, or vice versa,
I
versa
think when
versa.
those trifold folders came out, the thing was you were going to go look at pocket change for the dates to see if you could fill the whole folder.
Right, right, and that's
It was like
fun.
a game. It was relaxation. It wasn't meant to be
Hmm.
for archival collector.
Right.
But like getting back to how do you make it $10,000 in coin turn into $12,000?
Start out with fifty
First step is
thousand.
to buy a $10,000 coin,
Yep.
Yeah.
singular,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
singular, not a bunch of $100 coins,
Right.
or not a bunch
And
of $1 coins.
Ken Peavy used to say, if you want to make $1 million in this hobby, you have to start out with 2 million.
That's for the normal collector. That is correct.
Yep.
You don't get into this to make money. You get into it for the.
Uh-uh.
You can't put a price on happiness and pleasure.
Mm-mm.
People do that way too much and say, "Well, I can't afford." My daughter, she says, "I love to make candles." I says, "Well, go ahead and make candles. It's a great hobby." She said, "Well, I can't afford it." I said, "Well, it sounds to me that you can't afford not to because you're spending all this money on pre-made candles."
Yeah.
Now she makes candles. She goes, "Wow, in the long run, it costs no more, and I get all this relaxation and fun out of it." I says, "There you go."
Now, let's talk about, you can make a living in this hobby. There
You
are
can,
ways
and you can
there
make your
are
hobby
ways to
pay
make a
for
living
itself.
in this hobby. You just have, so there's several different ways. Um, you can learn to cherry pick, and I don't mean just like varieties and things like that. I
Cherry
mean,
pick.
like,
No, there's
yeah,
ways to make money.
right. You can do like Adam, that's what he pretty much exclusively does coins now, because he has learned to grade coins. So he buys rolls of coins, and he picks out the really great ones, and he does bulk grading.
Bulk grading. The
And
grading, there is an
typically,
issue with bulk grading.
out of
He,
50 coins that he sends in, or out of 100 coins that he sends in, he gets 10 that more than pay for his grading fees and actually make him some good
And
money.
he'll probably get one or two
Yeah,
that
that
are little,
will.
because the way
Yeah.
that the bulk graders do it, I've done some bulk grading, is
Mm-hmm.
they'll go through the registry and they'll see what 67s are paying good money.
Mm-hmm.
Those dates go on the list. When you bulk grade, like I say, getting above, I've only seen one coin in a bulk grade come back as a 67 plus. Very rarely do they give intermediate grades in a bulk grade. They don't go above 67. I have never seen anybody get a 68 in a bulk grade.
Yeah.
Never even heard of it. But yet I know people that have took 67s out of the bulk grade, resubmitted them, and got a 68.
Hey, Slot Crush, thanks for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you, my friend.
And that's the cherry pick right there.
Good to see
But
you.
Yeah.
doing that, like I know a Lincoln cent pretty good. You need to know the absolute where all the high spots are on the coin, where the
Mhm.
first rubs are, what is eye
And he
appeal.
does almost exclusively Lincoln cents.
Right.
He does cherry pick Franklin's. He loves to
Yep.
cherry
Well,
pick
they're
Franklin's.
easy to
And what
cherry
he
pick.
has learned to, and varieties, period.
Yeah.
What he will do though with those is if he finds a variety that is an unattributed variety, either a graded or a raw one, he'll send it in to be graded first,
Well,
and
and
then he'll resubmit it to
that's
have
right.
the
It's cheaper that
variety.
way. It's cheaper that way.
So there are things that, but yeah, knowledge is key. That is kind of my point that I'm
And
trying.
even with the junk stuff,
I'm taking the long
you
route,
can
the
buy
scenic
junk
route.
stuff and trade with your friends, or even
Mm-hmm.
buy and sell it
Yeah.
loosely, and not make a living off of it, but make enough to support your bad habit. Um, you
Mm-hmm.
know, make enough to support like I'm into pennies. You make enough to
But there
support your
are ways
pennies.
to make a living out of this hobby. Be
There
prepared
is,
to
there
work
is.
though. You have to put the work in.
That is
You
key.
can't.
It's just like
Yeah.
all the people that find stuff and send it into live coin Q&A. You see the same names over and over and over again, and then you see people say, how come he's always finding this stuff and I'm not? Well, it's because he's looking almost 24 hours a day for it.
Dirty water.
That's right. He
Yeah.
searches coins every single day.
Yeah.
He's searching 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 coins in a week. When you search that many coins, you find stuff. And there's a good thing with varieties. Everybody like strike it rich with pocket change. It's not meant that you're going to get rich. What it means is you can take your pocket change out, and it is very, very, very possible to find a $25 coin in your pocket change. One that you probably will have no problem getting a reasonable amount of money.
So, folks,
But
I'm going
like,
to tell you something. There's not very many hobbies where you can gain 100% profit.
exactly. I mean, here's the thing.
Like,
You see on eBay, this penny, well, this is going to trigger Paula, but it's got an L in the rim. And it's beautiful, nice, shiny. And the guy's got it up for sale for $1,000. It's not worth $1,000. But you know what? It might be worth 25 cents to somebody. And I'm just using that as an example. 25 times what you paid for something is a great, great return on your investment. So like I say, if you're going through pocket change and you find a quarter and you see that everybody's got them for sale for $1,000, but you see that they've been selling for $20, $25, $30, that's reasonable to say that it's worth $20, $25.
yep.
So, but still, all right, there you got a quarter and you get $25 for it. 100 times your investment, or more than 100 times. I don't know. No, 100 times your investment. Yeah. So, I mean, so there's ways of making money, but you might not be making a ton of money at a lot of, but you'll be having fun. There's lots of stuff to find. Just
There's
great.
lots of hobbies that people make money though. Actually.
And there's lots of tangents within hobbies.
But they dedicate time to it.
Yeah, but
and that's going to be the key.
Time to it. Exactly.
You don't get good at art by picking up a pen once. You don't get good at
people rebuild cars, right?
Yep.
Yep. But you don't do that once and become good at it.
You
But
see
they
these guys
do
that are,
make money.
yeah, well, they can, but you see them restoring these, let's say a 1965 Mustang or 67 Mustang fastback.
Mm.
They're putting $60,000 in cash to get $60,000 back out of the car. They're not making money per se, but they might break even. But they're doing it because they enjoy building cars, and then they got a really cool car if they want to keep it. There's a lot of stuff that just because it costs a lot doesn't mean that it's a bad hobby. Especially if you got the extra money and you don't like to build a car, you can take 10 years to build a car. So, but yeah,
The key is to not lose money. That's the key to me.
or
Like
if you're going to
in
lose
this
money,
hobby, if you're losing money, it's because you haven't learned enough. Or
that if you're losing money,
no.
do it because you want to buy something and it's just an expenditure of money.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Say somebody walked
I
up and
do, but
they had
there
500 mint sewn bags. I would probably go
now
get a loan to get those
I
bags.
have overpaid for coins before. I have. But that's not like I'm talking about like as a whole in
Right.
this hobby.
Well, my
The
point
trick
was,
is to
I've spent
is
more
to
than I
not
should
lose
have
money. That's the trick.
to buy something that I didn't need because I wanted it.
Oh, we've all done that.
And that's my point in
Yeah, we've all done
you
that.
can lose money somehow. I didn't buy it with the actual thought that, if I buy this, I'm going to make money off of it. I bought it with the thought of, I want this so I can do this with it.
A good piece of advice to alleviate that, it doesn't mean it's going to solve it all the time. But if you know, and again, Ashes, are you still in here? I don't know how many times I seen certain coins up for sale, and it's like, man, there you go. So how many times over the last year did I ask you about a 1921, a 1928, or a 1827 large cent, right? Like I've asked a number of times, hey, what's the best price on this? Or what do you got? What deal can you do? Show me the item. Let me see. I got to figure out which coin I can do. I researched it. I knew what my price point was. And I've asked Ashes probably 1,000 times over the last year, hey, can you look for this coin? Let me see it. This might be something I'm interested in. I know I want to get it. Know what you want. If you're going to go to a coin shop, if you're going to go to a coin show, have an idea of what you're looking for. Take the money for that item, get it, and then don't take any more money. Don't take your card. Don't take anything, because
Yep, go with the budget. Always go with the budget.
A lot of people will spend and go, and they'll come back. Now, I did this in Tulsa. When I went to Tulsa, Ashes, coin pimp. But I went to Tulsa and I'm like, I'm buying 3 coins. I already knew what they were. Paul and I had already worked out a deal for one. I had already talked to Mike from Mid-America to do a trade so that I could do one of the other coins. I already knew one coin I was interested in, but I wanted to see if I was going to get a deal for it. And then I bought one just because Ida gave me a deal I couldn't refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it was for Bifrost. It was for my daughter. And she's like, I'm like, I love it. I can't do that. She goes, well, I'll give it to you for this. I was like, no, you can't do that. I can't do that. But
that was my point. Sometimes you buy things just because you like them. Value has nothing to do with it.
But if I would have taken,
likely to overpay on a cheap coin than I am an expensive coin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if I would have taken a whole bunch of money, there's a whole lot of other cool stuff that would have been there. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to go to a coin shop, you're going to go to a coin show, you're going to do something like that, budget. Always budget. And make it to where it's hard for you to get your money when you go. Because you'll find that you leave. Now, sometimes you're going to get to a place where, you know what, you can't, I'll put that away. I'll be back. I'm going to get that because the deal is too good to refuse. You weren't planning on it. You saw something you absolutely want. Or like Paula and I about called you Chuck, but Eric were saying just a second ago, cherry picking. If you happen to find something, you weren't planning on it, but you're there just to look, right? Then yeah, that's fine. But again, normally situations like that, you're spending 5 for a $60 coin. For instance, the coin that was recently had by Adam in Tulsa, right? Was it the Chinese panda coin or whatever that was?
What?
Wasn't it Adam that did the Chinese panda coin?
Oh, Chinese panda coin.
Wasn't it the panda coin, the Chinese coin that he got in Tulsa?
The one that the person he bought it from thought it was fake?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a panda coin. It was a
dragon coin. Dragon.
It was a coin from China, but it wasn't. It was an expensive coin.
Yeah. Anyway, so sometimes you can find really, really nice stuff if you look at stuff. But again, you have to know what you're looking for. You have to do a little bit of research, and then you have to you have to be able to walk away.
Don't badger the dealer.
Yeah.
So many people try to badger the dealer over price. They know who cherry picks and who doesn't, and they know who they don't care who cherry. Some dealers are like, go ahead. I don't care. I don't want to look for the stuff. Mm-hmm. I just buy and sell it. But they know there's people that come to cherry pick and they'll say, nope, get away, because they know you're going to badger them and beat them up and try to get money off, and you're already cherry picking them. So you're making money already. If you're cherry picking something, don't be combative about getting the best deal that you can get. That was always something, there should be enough on the branches for everybody to make a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And if you spend any amount of time at a dealer's table, buy something from him.
Sure.
That's definitely a courtesy.
Or offer your seat up. If you've come to the conclusion, the chances are, and you see people collecting around you, say, hey, I'll get up and you guys can have the seat because I'm almost done here and I'll come back later. They really appreciate that, especially if they're like a volume dealer. If you're sitting there trying to cherry pick them for one coin and they're used to selling lots of coins, because there's a lot of wholesale dealers at these shows. That's another key thing. Make it pleasurable for them to deal with you.
Well, if you're sitting going through a dealer's, like they have the red boxes and things like that people go through to cherry pick.
Right.
When you start out, pick out a couple coins that you're willing to pay for, even though they're not cherry picks. Like, even though they're not varieties or whatever, you're like, oh, I could use that for my album or whatever. Set those aside.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose her?
Well, her mic is going, but
I wonder if she's still here, so her power didn't go out.
Yeah. But yeah, so definitely don't beat them up. And she's right. Making a purchase of something is always a good idea too.
Lix59 just became a member. Thank you, Lix. I appreciate you.
I never paid attention to that because I usually end up buying stuff anyway. So.
SHTF at Paula's house. Well, hey, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. My wife just texted me and asked me if I could come down and help her with some stuff. So I wonder if she lost power. They may have lost power. They do that rolling power thing, so I'm wondering if that's what happened.
Oh, there she goes.
But anyway, see, exactly what I figured it was going to be. All right, Paula, love you. Thanks for coming up. We're going to wrap it up anyway. Tomorrow, I'm going to do some research tonight, try to find a fun item
they're all
for us to talk about. If there's something that somebody wants to see or discuss, please put something in chat. Let me know. Slot Crush, if you're still in there, you got my email. !email. Send me an email. You and I can find time to look at and talk about those. We'll set up a special thing and we can sit down and kind of go through some of those things. I'll do that for you if that's something that you want to do. But again, you emailed me, outstanding. But yeah, let's find some time. We'll have another discussion. Sundays are just generalized chit chat. We just talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about. But if you guys have a topic you want to discuss, bring your coin pictures if you have questions, um, and we'll have some fun. So I'll see you guys later. I'll see you in the streams. Eric, thank you so much for coming up. Paula, love you.
Hope
Appreciate
everybody has a
you.
wonderful weekend.
And if you have any questions, then maybe stream later today. Ooh, okay, Nick. Send me a message and I'll holler at you. I'll see if I can come up. Maybe I'll even come up on panel if I can. So, all right, folks. You guys take care of yourselves. Be well, be blessed, and I will see you guys in the streams. Take care. Love y'all. See ya.